We are down to the final four teams in the NBA season. So, like and subscribe because we're going to recap basically what I think of each team. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, I've been very busy, but I still really want to talk about the rest of this playoffs. So, leave a like, subscribe. We're going to get right into it. I will give my predictions for each series, and let's just get back into it. So, first, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves. They grabbed the sixth seed on the last day of the season. Pretty shocking. I thought they were bound for the play-in pretty much the whole year, as it seemed like they had a rough start. They beat Luka and LeBron led Lakers in just 5 games. Now, did that series? Is it because the Lakers were worse than we thought, and having a center matters way more than we gave it credit for? Maybe, probably. But whatever, they still dealt them pretty easily. They beat a Curryless Golden State Warriors in 5 games. I do have to mention that Curry did not play, otherwise, Warrior fans will cry about it. But in my humble opinion, I think that the Timberwolves were going to win that series anyways. They tend to play up or down to their competition, but I do think it would have been a far better series if Curry played. I still think Ant would have ended up winning and leading to another conference finals. So Julius Randle was in particularly going crazy. He was attacking Draymond Green. He was dominating pretty much everyone that tried to stop him. The only guy on the Lakers that could somewhat contain him was LeBron James. And they would just play 4-on-4 with whoever LeBron wasn't guarding. And for the Warriors, Draymond Green did his best. He ended up fouling out trying to guard Julius Randle um in game 3, I think. It was very dumb. He was doing a good job until he started trying to shield shield him off, not let him get the ball, but he was doing a fine job guarding him straight up. The rest of the series, I don't know. Randall was just cooking. And this team looks even better than last year. And as I mentioned, it plays to their competition level, it seems. So that should make this OKC series seem really awesome. And I don't know. People bash the Randall and Cat swap. I knew why they did it. I don't know if I ever made a video because I didn't think it was worth mentioning. But it was literally just for salary purposes, so I didn't really mind. People made too much of a big deal out of it, but Randall's fine. I think he's okay. And Anthony Edwards can shoot elitely now. He's taking like 8, 9 3-pointers on very good efficiency. So that's just something defenses have to deal with now. And he can get on a heater at any moment, it seems. Uh, One of the issues I have with the Timberwolves is that it seems like their offense is dead. Some just at random points in the game. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Can they handle OKC's stupendous D? We'll get into their D for in a little bit, but it is very historic. So now the OKC Thunder. Here we go. Historically great season. They have one of the best net ratings ever. I believe they have the second best net rating ever in the modern era, either behind the 2015-16 Warriors or it was the 72-10 Bulls. They swept the Grizzlies pretty convincingly with and without Ja. The last 2 games they were down and they ended up coming back. Game 3 in particular, they were down 30 and they just mounted a comeback when Ja got hurt. Now that sucks for the Grizzlies, but it is what it is. They won against Jokic and the Nuggets in 7 games, and I do feel like it is very, very much worth mentioning that they were just 2 Aaron Gordon threes away from sweeping them, And in this whole series, I felt like they were the better team in 6 of the 7 games. The only game I felt like the Nuggets were truly better was game 6, where they had like a 10-point lead going into the fourth, and they just ran away with it. Game 1 in particular made me pretty angry because they were up 20 or whatever, and they kept fouling even when Jokic wasn't in the game to have them go to the free throw line, and it ended up biting them in the butt because Chet missed 2 free throws. You could tell once he was going up there, he was not going to make both of them. But yeah, and another going 3 that tied the game in game 3. So this series could have been over very quickly, but Nuggets are very clutch and showed their experience, and I think they did help this OKC Thunder team be a better team for the rest of the playoffs. They pushed them to their limit, which is the game 7. And in game 7, they look like the team that everyone is assuming they were going to be. It took Shea a bit, but he's been playing phenomenally after that game 3 where he played pretty awful, especially down the stretch. He's been playing like the MVP caliber player that he is. And the whole team, they seem to be adjusting to the playoffs as they move on. This is a young team, and I still have my questions about them, but it seems like they are getting better as the playoffs keep going. So my main question is, can anyone besides Shea be a consistent offensive option? I phrased this weirdly on the slide. But Shea, I don't really worry too much about him as much anymore. I am worried because it feels like I don't really know who I can trust to step up besides like Alex Caruso, who obviously has his offensive limits. He's been like their second best player throughout this run. But J-Dub, he's been pretty inconsistent. He showed up game 7. Um game 6 he was horrendous. A couple other games he was bad too. But yeah, he's only really had like 2 really good games that I can remember this playoff. So that's the main question. If the OKC Thunder lose, like they don't win it all this year, it's gonna be because no one besides Shea stepped up that series. That's just my opinion on that. So who's gonna win this Over Bowl? And I predict the OKC Thunder will win in 6 games. So they have the tools to shut down Ant, which would leave Randall to have the series of his life, basically, if Minnesota wants a chance. However, can Ant can just go on a heater and hit difficult shot after difficult shot. You'd never know with that guy. But like you could throw Lou Dort at him, Caruso. Who else they got? Jalen Williams is fine to throw at him. Pretty much that if you're facing a team where their strength is their guard, I don't really like the odds too much. Now, for Julius Randle, Hartenstein, Chet's not going to do much against Randle. But you could throw Hartenstein. You could try Caruso on him, as Caruso on Jokic ended up winning them the series. However, Randle is not like Jokic. Jokic is looking to pass. When Randle's backing you down, he is looking just to score, put the ball in the basket. So that option might not be too great. And let's see. I can see a world where Randall bully ball along with Ant going crazy. As long as they keep it close, the Timberwolves have a good chance. And like Shea's gonna do his thing probably. You could throw Jaden McDaniels at him. I maybe I don't know who else I would throw at him to really stop him. Oh, I guess you could throw his cousin, Nikhil Alexander Walker on him. Maybe he knows some stuff. Yeah, that might be a good idea. I do think it's just an uphill battle for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and my main reason for picking the Thunder is I think a lot needs to go right for the Timberwolves, and a lot would need to go wrong for the Thunder. But Mini's offense, it looked rough against Golden State, so I would believe OKC would give them even more fits. There were times where Golden State just sat in a chair and locked them up for long stretches of time, and I could see OKC doing that too. Except their defense, like it's more suffocating. They're gonna get more steals, which means more points in fast breaks, and all of a sudden you're down 10, 14. This literally happened to the Nuggets to close the half. They were only down like five, and then they went on an avalanche, and all of a sudden, a minute and a half later, boom, they're down 14. So if Shea's gonna get stopped, who steps up for OKC? You have to look at J Dub because he is technically their second option. However, he was getting stopped pretty pretty easily in Denver besides those two games. But yeah, I am curious to see that. So up next, we have the Indiana Pacers. And the fourth seed, however, if you paid attention, they looked a lot better than their record would show in the regular season. I said that because every time I watch this team in a close game, it seems like they would somehow pull it out their ass. There was a stat that Halliburton on to go or to tie the game shots in the last few seconds. He was 10 for 11 on the season. That is absolutely insane. Uh, what do you call this team? This whole team just rises in the playoffs, and Halliburton just looks so much better than I ever thought he would look. They beat Giannis in 5 games. I guess I should mention Gary Trent Jr. in there also. He was the only other guy who stepped up, but they were down in game 5. Like they were down 7 with like a minute left, and they forced overtime, and then they were down again in overtime, and they came back. So you can never count this team out. They beat a hampered Cavs team. I should mention this so Cavs fans don't get mad, but it's still impressive in the fashion that they did. They were down a lot in game 2, so took it was miraculous how they came back. Halliburton just took over on that last possession, and what was it? They were down 20 or so in game 5 until Halliburton took matters into his own hands and went on his own run. He ended up with like 30 something points. So it's showing growth in Halliburton that I really want to see, that he's able just to take over the game offensively, just scoring wise, because the casual NBA fan, they love the scoring. That's why some people at ESPN think that Jalen Brunson is far and wide better than Halliburton. I think they're around the same tier though. And what Halliburton does, he runs the whole offense, and it's really fun to watch. Yeah, he looks like a top 3 point guard right now. And if you focus too much on him, Siakam and Nemhard, they will kill you. That guy Nemhard, I swear to God, every single time I see him shoot a shot in the last minute of a close game, that thing is going in 1,000,000% of the time. And yes, I do miss you, Halliburton. I miss you very, very much. Now, the New York Knicks, the last team we're going to talk about today. They're the third seed. However, during the regular season, they could not beat top teams. I'm putting in quotes, but it is true. They were like 0 of 15 or against like the top 4 teams in the league. It's kind of embarrassing. That's why I didn't think too highly of them. However, they beat the Pistons in a controversial and hard fought 6 game series. Controversial just because of the ending of game 4. Um, I do think they were the better team that whole series. So if that was called, who knows? But I would have taken them in a seventh game if it happened. And they beat the Boston Celtics with 2 miraculous wins. They were down 20 in game 1 and 2, and they were about to be up 3-1 before Tatum got injured. So I'm not gonna take I'm not gonna like put an asterisk on it because they were probably gonna win that series regardless, especially in the fashion they did in Game Six where they just stomped them. But yeah, Jalen Brunson, he's so clutch, and he also looks like a top 3 point guard. Now, if you ask me who I would put above who, I don't really know. Probably depends on the day. Mikal Bridges may have been worth a million picks because those two miraculous wins, he was a big reason. And in game 4, when they were going up 3-1, he was taking these crazy Kevin Durant ass shots and they were going in. So he has brought them to their first conference finals in, I believe, about since 1999. And one of my big gripes about them is I wish that Tibbs would have a more creative offense. He has he has Carl Anthony Towns, one of the greatest shooting big men ever, and he just doesn't really want to utilize him too much. Too much Brunson. So, who wins this WWE rematch? I predict the Pacers will win in 7 games. Uh, Probably like last year, hopefully without the injury concerns. They look really deadly right now, and they don't play with their food like I feel like the Knicks did in both series. When they were up 3-1 in this Boston series, they let game 5 go. And when they were up 3-1 against Detroit, they let that game go. And it looked like they were about to lose game 6 too until Brunson put on the cape and he took over and shut the door on the Pistons. The Pacers literally just, what was it? They just, I don't know, they just finished the job quicker, which is why partially why I picked them. I also feel like the Celtics were the better team in 4 of those 6 games. I think the Celtics were the better team in games 1, 2, and 3, not 4. Knicks were better. And I think they were the better team in game 5, obviously, because they won. Now, I say I think they were the better team in games 1 and 2 because, what was it? They were up 20, okay? And, like, they just turned stupid at the end. They kept taking awful shots. Now, I do think that series. I don't know if I'm giving the Knicks enough credit for taking advantage of the Celtics' mistakes, but I do feel like that series was more that the Celtics choked the first 2 games than the Knicks came back and won the first 2 games, if that makes sense. I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks. I'm just saying the way Indy handled their matchup, it looked more like, okay, I can believe Indiana was the better team in this series. Now, Knicks fans, please don't get mad. I still like your team. I don't like you guys, but I like your team. And when Indy gets on a run, it feels like an avalanche, similar to like the OKC Thunder. I was watching game 4. It was relatively close. I started to study for a test because I'm a college student and it was finals week. And I look up and all of a sudden they're up like 20 points. And I was like, what the hell just happened? What happened? I had to rewind when I was taking a break just to see. So, that's another reason. And I feel like they're not gonna choke a game like the Celtics did. So if Indy gets up 20 or so, I think their offensive scheme is more creative than the Celtics to where they won't go several like basically a whole quarter without scoring a field goal, which is what happened to the Celtics that led the Knicks to win those 2 games. And I can see the Knicks winning because they never say die in these games. And Brunson's so good. I don't know who on the Pacers is gonna guard him. Like Halliburton's a good defender, but I don't think you're not gonna want to waste his energy doing that. I'm not really sure. Maybe Nemhard. Um. Also, they are a really good like defensive unit, it seems, especially with Mitchell Robinson. That's probably part of the reason the Knicks did bad in the regular season against top matchups is because I think Mitchell Robinson missed a lot of games. Like he just wasn't playing and he was injured. So yeah, that's something I didn't really consider. However, the Pacers also never say die. So I don't know. I trust the Pacers more in a clutch game. It seems. That's probably why I'm picking them in 7. However, I could see the Knicks winning. If I say 7 games, then that means I can see either team winning. So, other remaining thoughts. I think SGA is the best player left in the playoffs. It's very stupid how they haven't crowned him MVP. They should have named him MVP either game 2 of the second round or game 5 and maybe game 7. However, they haven't done that yet. They're probably going to do it by the time this video comes out, but they haven't done it yet. And now that De'Aaron Fox is no longer on the Kings, I can fully enjoy Halliburton without being defensive. I was pretty defensive on Bruton against Halliburton last season because people would take it and run with it, saying that that how could the Kings let this go? And now that De'Aaron Fox isn't here, which is the main reason that trade wasn't as bad as it was, that trade's horrible. So I can feel happy for Halliburton now. And it's so cool. All these teams have either never won a ring or won like 40 some years ago. I think the last time the Knicks won was in like the 70s or 80s. Whenever that one dude got injured and he played on like a torn Achilles or whatever, I don't know, or some leg injury, but that was the last time they won a ring. Uh, did the Supersonics win a ring? I don't know, but I don't really count that for the OKC Thunder. And Pacers probably won like an ABA ring. I don't know. I don't really care. But it is cool that we're gonna have a new champion, a fan base who haven't seen championship success in decades, and that's really cool. And I'll just say it now. I do think the Oklahoma City Thunder will win the NBA championship. Um, Nuggets were probably their hard. Well, actually, you know what? All these teams are hard matchups now that I look at it. However, these playoffs have been defying expectations, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Thank you for watching. I haven't been uploading. I meant to make a playoff prediction, but I had to lock in for finals week in college. And yeah, so I'm gonna try to upload more now that it's over and stay up to date during these games and analysis because I have been wanting to talk about basketball. It's just I haven't had the time. So leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.